Walker's tip was good, but we're still too late. Again. As if working the rail lines isn't torture enough.
The Hood left my family's homestead the same way after he got through with it. No survivors, and no trail left to track.
We're getting closer. We'll find him, Kate.
And when we do, I'm gonna put him dead in the ground myself.
Not before he tells me where my sister is first. All right?
Hey, panelists, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
This is going to be a spoiler-full podcast about What If Season 3, Episodes 4 to 6. And I'm glad you guys are back with us. And Happy New Year to everybody, too, as well.
Yes, Happy New Year, everybody.
So, we're in the new year, 2025. So we know a lot of other people have already wrapped on this, but we figured we'll do the next three after we did the first three. So 4, 5, and 6 is what we're covering now. If you haven't listened or haven't watched the episodes, please stop the podcast right now. Go back, watch them, come back and listen to us. If you haven't and you want to listen to us, well, have fun. Be spoiled and have fun and listen to our thoughts. If you feel that you need to jump and then go to the last two, you're more than welcome to. I have not watched the last 2 or 7 and 8 of the episodes. Neither has Steve. So I think we're in good spirits at this point. But for those of you that have, obviously we're going to talk about these particular episodes in depth. A lot is different within this universe because it's more integrated with the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, apparently, and more within the own What If series itself that is on Disney Plus. So these are not more comic based. So these aren't more accurate to the comics that have come out that you've read before if you are readers. So, bear with us. But we're going to dive right in and go right into the first one, which is What If Season 3, Episode 4, What If Howard the Duck Got Hitched?
I love it. The synopsis for this one is: while on vacation, Howard the Duck and Darcy Lewis, the Duck, face dangerous factions from across the galaxy. This one was hilarious. I loved it. I loved it both times watching it.
Yeah.
I loved the running gag of everyone going, the Ducks. I thought was just
The Ducks.
Yeah, the Ducks. I love even Howard and Darcy themselves calling themselves the Ducks, or the Ducks. Sometimes it was just hilarious. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought the Fury Out was really good. Have we ever heard that in any of the main shows? Have we ever?
I
heard
don't think so.
Fury Out.
It's like Seacrest out.
Yeah, exactly. Out. I was like, all right, they're giving us a new kind of more wacky kind of Nick Fury here, and I'm loving it. I'm sure our friend Derek O'Neill from TV Podcast Energy, he might not be too much. He's not a big fan of the humor based ones, but he's a huge Nick Fury fan. So. Yeah. We'll see how he feels about it once I listen to his. I did go back and listen to their coverage of the first 3 after we recorded because I wanted to hear what their thoughts were, and they were really good. They obviously those guys always do a super in depth, take on it, and so it's gonna be interesting to hear what they have to say about these 3 as well. They had some things that were similar to what we said about the first 3, and some other things that I had forgotten to mention about the first 3, and now escapes me what it was. There was a couple of them that there was something that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that.
It always happens. But everybody has their own take on it, but when you go episodically, you can go deep dives, and that's the whole thing. We're not really going into deep dives, but the one thing that I love is that they actually, it's been this whole relationship between Darcy and Howard has been going on since, what was it, season 1 of What If?
I mean, that's all the. It was funny when I saw Chris Hemsworth's name in the credits. I thought, oh, are we going to get a Thor cameo, but no, everything was reused footage from his original episode that they that had him in Vegas being the party guy. And Loki, it was great to see to hear
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston, thank you, as Frost Giant Loki. I was a little bummed they couldn't get gosh, why are these names escaping me right now? They couldn't get Jeff Goldblum back for the Grandmaster.
Really? That wasn't Jeff Goldblum?
That was not Jeff Goldblum. I know it sounds like him, but I double checked the credits, and unless it was they did somebody else, it did sound like him. It was unless I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I read that was not Jeff Goldblum doing the Grandmaster voice.
Whoever did it, kudos to them. They did a really good job.
It was really good. I love.
We got Michael Rooker back as Yondu.
We did get Michael Rooker back, even though meeting his unfortunate end. As many of our Marvel villains meet their unfortunate ends in this one. That was another moment there at the end when the baby did that explosion, and we get that very Raiders of the Lost Ark. Lightning bolts going out. Zeus peace outing before the last gasp there, and Coulson and Fury being able to hide out under the snow to not get hit by that wave was really cool. So it was great to see all those guys. Thanos showing up there at the end. Hey, is it the stones? What are the stones? And he's like, no, it was this magical baby. And and his minion there going, magical was just, I thought it was great. It was
cute. It was a good, cute episode, I thought, overall. It was entertaining. Kat Dennings is always great. Seth Green, always great. Mind you, after the loss of not having a robot chicken anymore. Right. Because it got canceled a couple of years ago. And I'm glad that we do have him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, mind you, it doesn't mean that he's no longer in Family Guy, everybody, but he's going to still be in there. But I just love it. And the fact that these two characters that are so wacky getting together and having a child. Now, of course, throughout most of the episode, it's an egg. and them getting away and having, thrown on this magical mystery vacation provided by the not the Collector, but
the Grandmaster
himself. Yeah. So I thought it was pretty cool. And obviously it was an ulterior motive to try to get and collect that baby for everybody. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. All of the movie references again that we get from Kat Dennings is always great. The whole Bonnie and Clyde. Did you see how that movie ended? And then they're gonna Rosemary's Baby, our baby with Dormammu.
And then they actually do have Dormammu in it as well. Yeah, and that's a callback to Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange movies. Everybody, so I'm glad that they brought him back. So that shows hope for whatever we get in the cinematic universe too, because whatever's here will most likely happen in the cinematic universe because of the multiverses clashing or collapsing on themselves when it comes to Secret Wars, because a lot of comic readers are not happy for the fact that we're not getting that true version of Secret Wars from 1984, but we're getting the one from 2015. Which I was a fan of. I did enjoy it, but there's always going to be that, it's going to be an artistic change from directors and writers for this. So I'm looking forward to see what we get out of that. But the inclusion of the What If series characters that are different, and there's more and more coming out about filming, storylines, and spoilers that are out there, whether they're true or not, who knows, who cares, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless, for the fact that I want to see what they do with this. And on top of that, we are still blessed with these shows, which are fun and they're entertaining. Now, mind you, this was by far one of the ones that I liked for the fact that it was entertaining and funny. And that's what I enjoyed about the original first season of What If. Last season, we did get the same thing to some degree. And what they did with it creatively was amazing. And I love the fact that a majority of the actors came back and voiced their characters. But we're getting that still nonetheless now
Yeah.
with season 3.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, so I loved it. I loved the ending, the very feel good, family values kind of. Let's just go home. I just want to go home. I don't need the mini bar. I want to just go back. And then of course the trope of we're gonna back out silently to while the baby is sleeping, and suddenly she starts crying again, and they have to run back in to soothe her was just great. That whole sitcom trope of I would watch. This is a sitcom I would watch. The Ducks.
The Ducks.
The Ducks. Yeah. As a family sitcom. I don't know how they do it, how it could go, but I think it would be really, really cool to see that. So
Yeah, one thing that I did enjoy is the music, but obviously there's one song in particular that comes back, which everybody hates who's a Kiss fan. I Was Made for Loving You, Baby. Came out in the 70s, and it was Kiss's idea of a disco song. This is a continuous trope in a lot of sitcom movie shows, movies, things of that nature. And the fact that they put that in that, and it showed up at least 2 or 3 times in this episode, I think.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I mean I don't have a lot to say about these 3 episodes. I hate to be like that, but that's really, this one was very, I mean, there was a lot, it was really cool. I love the mist. I will say this, make this comment. I love the misdirect of Loki giving his pitch. And we think he's talking about, the
Jotunheim or
Jotunheim. Yeah. And then suddenly it's like the Jotunheim Casino and Resort. That's just crazy. Casino and Resort. I thought was great. And the inclusion of Zeus, even though I'm pretty sure that was not
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe voicing Zeus, but I liked that inclusion of Zeus in there. And
yeah, same here. It was great to see a lot of those characters coming back. I love the fact that the baby was hatching and Loki and his dad from his area offering the weekend at the hotel for the family. Yeah. And they're like, no. And then Howard, but this is Howard and Darcy's journey is not over. So that kid is going to be fun. And I would not be surprised if we see it in sometime in the future. Whether it be next season of What If, or if we get one next season, another season, and then we go into Secret Wars, because we're getting Avengers Doomsday and a whole bunch of other movies in between. And after that, we'll be getting Secret Wars. So I would not be surprised if we get them back again, which I'm looking forward to. I would love to see that. It would be funny to see Kat Dennings and an animated Howard the Duck voiced by Seth Green in the cinematic universe and being a couple.
Yeah, be cool.
The next episode, that would be, it's What If Season 3, Episode 5, What If the Emergence Destroyed the Earth?
The synopsis for this one, very simple. Riri Williams embarks on a deadly mission to take down the authoritarian Quentin Beck. I had to go back and remind myself of who Quentin Beck was, and to realize that, okay, this is from Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yes.
This was the guy who pretended to be Mysterio, or was Mysterio, pretending to be from a different alternate universe, but was actually just trying to take over Stark Industries. So obviously in this universe where the emergence, where Tiamat was birthed, the Earth kind of survived, I guess. There's pieces of it. It got broken up into pieces that still are able to sustain life, I guess. I was a little unclear on that. But so, I had to kind of back up and remind myself who Quentin Beck was, and try to get my bearings on, this character and what was going on, the fact that they have White Vision in here, but we don't have any. He doesn't say any lines, so we don't get. Why are these actors' names just escaping me?
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany, Mr. Jennifer Connelly. We don't get any of his voice acting, which would have been cool.
No.
But it was an interesting thing. Is this character? I'll ask you because you know more about the comics and have kept up more with the MCU than I have. Is this Riri Williams? Has she shown up anywhere else before?
She's shown up in the comics. Yes.
Okay.
Initially, she showed up in the MCU. For Wakanda Forever, which was the second Black Panther movie. She was like you got T'Challa's or T'Chaka, I forget which one. But the Black Panther's sister encounters her, and she has ability to make her own tech and becoming the next Iron Man. Now, mind you, Disney Plus or Disney/Marvel were working on the idea of doing Armor Wars, which was going to revolve around Riri and taking up the mantle of Iron Man and being part of quote unquote the new Avengers.
Okay.
But the thing is that it kind of fell through. Things haven't happened during the pandemic. A lot of stuff has gotten washed away, but the character still sustains its way in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Disney Plus series. So she's in here and she's like kind of the new Stark, as it were, but she's not rich.
Yeah, well, and this is a dystopian,
correct
apocalyptic future we're looking at here, which was again this one is a little tougher for me because it just doesn't really follow from anything
book related.
And it kind of gives us from the movies a little bit, the fact that obviously the Eternals that Tiamat emerged earlier than expected. The Eternals weren't able to stop it in that whole thing. So we get another return back to the Eternals movie. They're just gonna hit us over the head with this Eternals.
Well, honestly, I never said I hated the movie. It just didn't do well, and you can easily fall asleep through the film. Everybody, trust me, I've done it several times. I've watched it, and there are moments because I love the actors, I love the characters. I'm not saying they're bad in any way. It just was poorly written, and there's a lot left out within that particular film. Yeah. But the fact is that we do get things coming back from previous movies, and it's all about recalling everything. So if anybody jumped into, let's say, this particular show and not have watched a single Marvel thing, they're going to be like, what am I watching? It kind of
like I said, I had to go back and familiarize myself even with who Quentin Beck was, just to remind. I was when they mentioned it and the context, I was pretty sure that's who he was, and I knew right where to go to verify that, to go to Far From Home. But it was just one of those things that it took me a moment to go, okay, we need a little bit of, this is one that we need a little bit of background on, and they don't really give us all that much of a background here, and of course we get this one ends with the kind of cliffhanger that leads us into the next one, the cliffhanger of the next one of we see the Watcher intervene again.
It seems to be a consistent trope since the end of season 1, because season 1 he did intervene, and after that, in between in season 2 he did intervene at least a couple of times, which I understand. But this one seems to be like, it's a consistent thing that he's intervening with these universes and saying no. And then doing something. And of course, the what would you call them? The gathering of Watchers, all the other Watchers that are there.
The Imminence, I think, is what it's. I checked again. I checked IMDb and I checked because I saw his name in the credits, and then I had to check IMDb to see Jason Isaacs, not Oscar Isaacs, Jason Isaacs, completely different guy. Plays. I think the character is called the Imminence, and that's the voice of the other watchers that are kind of watching you
Over our Uatu.
Right, Uatu, whatever his name is. Yeah, however you say his name. So that was my first introduction into who Jason Isaacs was voicing in this. So something called the Eminence or the something like that, to where they're basically, it looks like there's some sort of Watchers Council.
Yeah,
that watches over the Watchers. Kind of who watches the Watchmen.
Yeah. I'm glad that we got Mysterio back in some way. I was always a huge Mysterio fan as a kid. For it's like everybody. I'm wearing a Amazing Spider-Man shirt that I just flashed at Steve on Zoom. I got that from my friend Becky for Christmas as a thank you for helping out with What's On Tonight podcast that you could actually listen to on Pyrocore Entertainment.
Yeah,
but I was so glad because Mysterio is one of those villains that I always loved from Spider-Man lore, I should say. And I was so grateful for him. Obviously, it's not Jake Gyllenhaal coming back as the voice of Mysterio, but even still, the fact, the presence of that character, and they're making it more prevalent. So I'm hoping we do get a Quentin Beck as Mysterio in MCU again, and if he does make an appearance in the future, because it could be an alternate version, and it could, maybe it could be Bruce Campbell like it originally was supposed to be with the Raimi films. Who knows? But and Riri Williams was not on my radar of like thinking she'll be back, so I'm glad we got this, and it made her the star or the hero of the episode, and I'm glad. And I'm hoping that they actually make it a little bit more prevalent, so that way they could bring her character and bring it back in a sense of making it better than what we got in Wakanda Forever. Now, I'm not saying Wakanda Forever was bad. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was entertaining, but it did lack a lot. And I think that had to do with the loss of the one and only Black Panther that we had. And, it's sad, but and then now there's talk of another Black Panther movie or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. I really like, again, this is another one of those ones that I didn't necessarily see the twist coming on this one of him actually having the nanites, and then basically, setting everything up to get Riri Williams into his shop there so he could try to take her body. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't see that either too.
I was impressed by that twist that I didn't get. I loved the Watcher's intervention being one of just his voice again, similar to when he interfered with Strange in season 1, and just his voice saying, fight, to give her that hope to get up and continue the fight. I thought was really cool. So yeah, again, another decent episode. Not my favorite, not my least favorite of the series so far, for sure. But it was a decent episode. It was good seeing the Power Broker back, and for that brief, even though we got her just for a brief moment there at the beginning of the episode, but that was cool to see that they're kind of maintaining that character. I don't like, we talked about this during Captain America and the Winter Soldier, that we didn't like that villainous turn for her at the end of that show, and we haven't seen exactly what the ramifications of that are yet. Maybe that's going to come up in the Thunderbolts. Again, I don't know.
It has to come back because they already gave us a decent setup. It's not like that show went under major scrutiny like Secret Invasion did.
Right.
And Secret Invasion, I think they want to wash it away.
Yeah.
And
there was a lot of stuff in Secret Invasion that just didn't
pan out, especially when the Marvels came out. And it's like, oh wait, Fury was this grimacing thing in Secret Invasion, but he's so happy-go-lucky in the Marvels.
Oh yeah, and he married a Skrull. What? How does that work?
Exactly.
So yeah, there was a lot of stuff in Secret Invasion. It was kind of like,
huh?
yeah. So, but
yeah, I this this episode was one of those that kind of went over my head a little bit, but I channeled through it and got to accept a lot of the stuff within it because I knew a lot of this stuff is going to come to play later on. But mind you, the casual viewer who comes on is going to be like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So unless they binge watch everything, that's the only way for them to really do that. With these episodes, they were coming out at one day at a time. It was just before, like the day before Christmas or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like, nah. But a lot of people who are diehard Marvel fans would actually watch it, give it a lot of scrutiny and saying, oh, this wasn't as good. But honestly, it was okay. And I'm sure it's going to have a payoff either at the end of the season or later on in the cinematic universe. So with that, I think we covered that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we can go into this, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say right now, as of these first 6, this is by far, even though I only got a chance to watch it once, all the way through once, this is by far probably my favorite.
Really? 1872?
Yes, 1872 is probably my favorite of the, as much as I liked episode 3 with Red Guardian and Winter Soldier, this one, I really, really enjoyed this one and liked it. And so I'm excited to talk about it a little bit.
All right. Yeah. Basically, what if season 3, episode 6, what if 1872?
The synopsis for this one is: the legendary Shang-Chi and Kate Bishop search for the Hood in the old Wild West.
Yep.
I'm just, like I said, I really enjoyed this one. There's a few things that as I was watching the first few minutes of it before we started to record, I got the chance to watch about the first 5-10 minutes of it. There was a couple things that bothered me a little bit, but I can look past those things because I really enjoyed this one a lot. I did see the twist coming. I will say that. Towards the end, I don't know how
I saw
far
that coming a mile away.
Yeah, there was too much allusion to his sister for it not to be her. At the end.
Exactly.
Like now I was a little surprised that they killed her.
Same here.
But I get it. There was really it needed to end. They needed an ending point.
Do you see a comparison to another movie that has an Asian person and somebody who is American that was based in the Wild Wild West?
I mean, are you talking about like Shanghai Noon and those
Yes.
Those ones with Jackie Chan and
Chris Tucker,
not Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan and the guy from Loki. He was, I hate to say the nose guy. The guy with the nose.
No. That's yeah.
It was his brother. It was one of those two. It was either him or his brother.
I was thinking Chris Tucker because Chris Tucker was
Rush Hour. That was Rush Hour. That was the Rush Hour movies.
Yeah, that was the Rush Hour movie. Yeah,
right.
You're right.
No, Shanghai Noon and Shanghai or Shanghai Nights or Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights was Jackie Chan and
Crooked Nose guy.
Yeah, the guy from Loki. Why can we not think of his name? I can see his face right in front of me and his brother, Luke Wilson. Thank you. Not the other Wilson, not Luke Wilson. Owen Wilson. Thank you.
There you go.
Wow. People are shouting at us in their cars right now.
Probably. Who cares?
But yeah, I could see a little bit of that to it. The one thing I will say that bothered me was they don't really make it clear. There's definitely shots where it's very clear that she's shooting the guns out of the bad guy's hands.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a few shots where it could go either way, that she actually shot the guy instead of the gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that kind of bothered me. I wanted them to be clear about whether she was, killing, or because it does bother me in some of these Wild West movies where they try to make it so PG-13 or so PG, to where they're shooting each other
friendly,
and whatever words you want to use, but they're shooting each other with guns. There's gonna be blood. People are gonna die if you're shooting each other with. I mean, it's just I'm sorry. So it was that was the only thing that really on the second watch that I really kind of was like, I can't tell if that guy that just fell off that she shot and fell off the balcony, did she shoot him? Did she shoot the gun out of his hand and that made him fall through the thing? You know, so that was the only thing. But I mean, it was interesting that we got Kate Bishop and we don't get, and he calls her Hawkeye, which I thought was kind of cool. But we don't have the Jeremy Renner Hawkeye, you know, so we don't know what happened there to create. Obviously there's a backstory there that we don't have. But we may or may not get it again. But yeah, I know I liked it a lot. I loved all the callbacks to they kept saying the 10 rings and like had to ring the bell 10 times.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they kept calling him 10 rings. They never actually showed him, but he never had his sleeves down. His sleeves were always, or he never had his sleeves up. His sleeves were always down.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have had those 10 rings on his forearms
throughout the whole time.
Throughout the whole thing. That would make sense. With the kind of power that he was using and things that he was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this one. I liked it. I liked the ghost train.
Same here
of it.
Yeah, definitely with the fact that the Hood taking Stark and Hammer's tech for that train.
Yeah.
And how that's how it was able to like not show tracks, not show anything.
It was very Wild cool. Wild. Reminded me very, very much of the Wild West. Like not the movie, not the movie, but the TV version of Wild Wild West. You know, like where they went into they had that car that had all the weapons in it and stuff and all their gadgets, which I thought was really, really super cool. So yeah, I love those callbacks to Wild Wild West. I love the fact that he wore a white hat, she wore a black hat. I thought that was a cool little nod to which one of their characters is, you know, more violent or not.
Well, I didn't look at the credits, but did Simu Liu actually do?
Yes. He was in the credits. Yeah.
And the same thing with Haley Steinfeld too.
Yes.
So they
both of them were in the they both came back to voice their characters. Yes.
And I really love the kid.
And Wyatt Russell was John Walker. Also, that was Wyatt Russell doing the voice of John Walker at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, and I love the kid in it too, and his like different takes and everything else, and how he was key factor to that. And
he was the one that the Watcher interfered with. So we got to see that again, leading us into what I'm assuming is going to be the last couple episodes is the ramifications of the Watcher messing around with and getting involved with these worlds and stuff to see what his Watchers are going to do to him. But
yeah, and one thing I did admire in the very beginning, how it's like instead of what if, the Watcher goes, what the hell?
Yeah,
and it's like, what if like Ultron was programmed for show tunes?
Yeah, I love that, you know, because he kind of starts with, you know, basically giving his shtick and his spiel, going, you guys have heard it all before, you know this, small changes, blah blah blah. But then he gets to that point where he goes, but there's corners of the multiverse where it's not what if, but what the hell. And then he shows us a couple of clips of different things, and you know, we saw that, if you remember. Which one was it? The Marvels or where they were zapping through the movie version? I know they did it in the TV show. The What If TV show also went through different multiverse worlds, but it was in the Marvels where they went to different multiverses and saw different versions of people and things and event and stuff. So I thought that was cool to get that little snippet of there are crazy things out there. Very what was the movie? From this year, the one all the Oscars, Everywhere, Everything, All at Once.
Always at once. Yeah, that was a couple of years ago, actually.
Was it a couple of years ago? Okay, I've heard it referenced a couple times over the last few
Everything,
weeks. So.
Everywhere, Always at Once, or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I had those, you know, like Sausage Finger World and stuff like that. You know, if you can think it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, so, exactly.
It was cool for the Watcher to acknowledge those other corners of the multiverse where that you don't talk about. You know, it was really cool. And this is one of those ones where they're not exactly the Avengers that we know, but they're kind of are.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It talks about how she immigrated. The sister came from. I love the callback. Now, is that a callback to DC calling the villain the Hood? Isn't that from DC?
That is a DC thing. I
Yeah.
think it's from out of Batman or something.
Yeah,
I'm
out
not a
of Batman, I
huge
think.
DC fan, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
think there was a hood character in there in Batman somewhere. So that was kind of an interesting use of that word or that name.
And to speak of other voice actors that I did admire, I loved Walton Goggins as
Yes,
Sonny Birch. He
I
did a
forgot to
great
mention
job.
that. Yeah, it was great. When I saw his name in the credits, I was excited to hear what character he was going to be. So that was really cool. When he came out, that he has such a distinctive voice
Oh yeah,
that you know right away that it's him. You know, there's some voice actors that I'm cool with them doing different voices and not actually sounding like themselves. Like people talked about Bradley Cooper, you
Mhm.
know, playing
Rocket.
Rocket. Thank you. You know, oh, it doesn't sound like Bradley Cooper. Well, yeah, it's because he's voice acting. It's not, you know. But then there's other actors that like James Earl Jones. Some of these people that when they voiced characters, you
It's
heard
distinctive
their
and you
voice.
know it's them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Walton Goggins. I miss him, but we will be getting him back in Fallout Season 2, everybody. So
Yes, be
looking
excited
forward
for that
to
when it
that.
comes out.
Yeah, and in this particular episode, obviously the Watcher intervenes yet again, but with the boy on the top of the train. And this is a consistent trait within this, which kind of shows up what's going to happen at the very end of this season, but also is, I already said it, it's kind of moving its way into the MCU itself. So I'm not sure if they're going to try to end What If after a certain point.
I want to say I did hear, I don't know if it was on TV Podcast Industries or was somewhere else, that someone did say this has been announced to be the final season of What If.
I have not seen or heard anything that officially myself, but if it is, it's fine, because I had a funny feeling because we are next year going to get Marvel Zombies, which was an offshoot within the first season of What If you'll recall. And I'm looking forward to that. And you know, it's going to have to be animated. They can't do anything when it comes to that. They're not going to do a whole AMC Walking Dead and have all these people come back. Like, you're not going to see Chris Evans in like dead makeup as like dead Captain America, or Paul Rudd as like,
I do hope they get their voices though. I hope they can get those actors.
I would
together
hope,
for their voices.
and I would assume, since Chris Evans right now is working a little bit more, but Marvel can broach those people and go, hey. And then now we got Scarlett Johansson talking with Marvel again after the lawsuit and everything from Black Widow. So she is in talks of coming back. So I'm assuming by the time she comes back, it's most likely for Secret Wars. But we've already got a snippet of Chris Evans anyway through Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah. So all of us got that little taste, and we love the idea of Chris Evans. So I'm looking forward to that. And even if it's in voice form until he comes back, because we are guaranteed at least Chris Evans as Agent Hydra or Captain Hydra at that point in the Secret Wars. He's got to be, because that's been on my mind for a long time. Black Widow could also be Lake Bell, who voiced her in the What If series, as well as other video games and things of that nature for Black Widow. Yeah. So, you know, there's so many things that could come out within this. You know, I'm still rooting for the idea of Lake Bell being Black Widow. Everybody, I just love her as an actress and what she had done already for Marvel in the games and cartoons and stuff like that. So animation. Sorry, I can't say cartoons because it's not PC.
That's all right.
But I really enjoyed this. It kind of gave me the feels of Back to the Future 3 at times, but meeting up with the train and everything else, and
kind of that Old West feel,
that Old West feel, but with a futuristic twist to it. So I really did enjoy this. But there was one key quote that I pulled from it, and it was taken from a Marvel film.
Okay.
Sun's getting real low, Hawkeye. And that's a callback to Black Widow stating that to the Incredible Hulk during Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
sun's getting low, big guy, and it's like, and I'm like, oh, here we go. We're getting callbacks from the original, but that final scene with the Watcher was interesting for a cliffhanger because he was like, oh crap, because you got those guys standing around going, yeah, you're in trouble.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Can't wait.
Yeah, we got another 2 episodes, everybody, to cover, and I hope you stick around. But overall, I agree with you. I did enjoy this one. The first one was pretty cool. Second one, interesting, kind of lost me a little bit, but it captivated me nonetheless. And then this one was pretty cool in a sense of it gave that old Wild West. They were trying to keep up with the same trope from last season when we got the Renaissance style Avengers. I don't know if you remember that. We never covered
Yeah,
the What If
I don't
season
know.
2.
last year's such a blur to me. I
know.
can't. So,
But I enjoyed that because it was more old timey wimey stuff, and I thought it was pretty cool in the same.
Yeah, very cool.
Do you have any quotes?
No, nothing more that we haven't already discussed.
All right. Well, any podcast recommendations?
Gosh, just the same that we've been plugging. Still Slaying, I think, is coming back.
Yes, they are back.
They're back. Still Slaying is back. They're covering both Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel at the same time. So I'm trying to get caught up, but I'm not caught up on podcasts at all.
Same here. But I will plug if anybody is interested in Still Slaying, a Buffy podcast, all you have to do is go to podcastica.com. Those are our friends Penny and Kara, as well as the cast of us, as they are continuing their coverage of the rewatch of The Walking Dead. And there's Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paige. They're covering a whole slew of shows. Oddly enough, they did The Substance and they put it out a week before I did, even though I've been having it in the months for Adrenaline Cinema podcast. But they did their coverage of The Substance. I've yet to listen to it. It was funny because Billy and I had done our coverage, but I think we did a different version or take of it. So if you guys like to have different contrasts and ideas and thoughts of the same movie, go listen to both. It's pretty fun. But anything else that you could find, I would say definitely podcastica.com or go to Wilhelm. Our friend Ben is still doing what is it, The Good Place with Kristen.
I don't know what's happening with that one, so I haven't heard anything.
As far as I know, they are on set to do The Good Place. I haven't caught up or checked to see if they actually put anything out.
They have not. That's what I'm saying is I don't know what's going on with that. He's been posting a lot of Wilhelm stuff, so I don't know if the revisited. I don't know. I can't say.
Regardless, go to Wilhelm. Check that out.
Check that out.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get back with Ben as soon as Monarch season 2 comes out. So that was a collaborative thing between Wilhelm and Podcastica. We are definitely going to be back for Adrenaline Cinema podcast. We're going to be doing Mayfair Witches season 2. So that will be more collaborative as well as Podcastica. So keep that in mind. And just to plug away of what I am and where I'm at. Obviously, I already mentioned Adrenaline Cinema podcast. That's where you can see me or hear me, maybe see me eventually. But anyhow, we have Riccio, the story of Ricky that we're going to be covering, and we're looking to do Nosferatu, which just came out recently from 2024. So it'd be Rob, Becky, myself covering that. And then from there on, who knows for Adrenaline. As far as Pyrocore Entertainment, the Pyrocore Entertainment podcast, I should say, you're going to get What We Do in the Shadows series finale. Actually, it's not season finale, but it is a season finale, but series finale with Becky, Mandy, and myself jumping in the middle at a certain point. And at the end of the month of January, because we're doing this on January 4th, you'll have the Pirate Core music podcast coming out at the end of the month. So you get one episode of that, and then the following month, mid-month, you'll get the next one, which will be probably Appetite for Destruction with me and Rima. The first one will be Jagged Little Pill with Becky and myself. So, and then I think Billy and Lara will be doing Joy Division, and I got to work out some things with Derek because we're going to be working on Prince, the artist, known as Prince, I should say. Other than that, Steve, obviously they could hear you here, right?
Yeah, right here, right now, is all I've got in the books, in the can, so to speak. I'm trying to get back to my regular sending out voicemails, but I haven't been. So I've got some stuff coming up that will take me out of it for a little while. So we'll see, but I'll definitely be right here on Panels to Pixels, finishing up What If next week.
Awesome.
Hopefully.
And to let you guys know too, Filmtropolis, which is formerly Fantasy Picks Movie Edition, will be coming out in another month. We're going to be doing, come the 12th, I think we're recording 3 episodes back to back on one day. Go figure, right? So, yeah, I'm going to have fun with that with Rob, Frank, Adam, and myself, just like talking about subjects and everything that Rob has set for, so that way you guys have something to listen to. And then hopefully by then the website will be somewhat in check. And then you could get the links to that. Anyhow, but feedback, as always, if you want to get in touch with us, literally all you have to do is go to our Facebook group, which would be facebook.com/panels to pixels. It's also in conjunction with our Instagram, which would be at Panels to Pixels Podcast. And whatever is placed on Facebook is always placed on Instagram. If there's an image or whatever we're covering, please leave them in the comments below of that image, or you just leave a comment in general. You can. It's open to anybody. Or you can do that in Messenger, and I'll be able to get that and then, read that out as well. If you want to write an email to us, that would be greatly appreciated. Panels to pixels1@gmail.com. That's panels. 2 is spelled out to pixels and the number 1 at Gmail. And then you could write out your thoughts. We'll read them. Doesn't necessarily have to be what we're covering right now. It could be something that we did in the past or something that you want us to do. Or if you wanted to be on yourself, who knows? I try to give everybody options. Like always, I always state, and with that option, I state, as long as you have a decent pair of headphones, a microphone, ability to get on Zoom, you're more than welcome to. But, you could with that kind of equipment, you could easily record yourself too, as well. And then you could send that as an attachment and we'll play it. And then you could be part of the podcast with your feedback. Your voice could be heard. We could be found on YouTube. All you have to do is search Panels to Pixels Podcast. And as always, we always get comments and anything on the videos that we do. And I would be able to read those as well. So with that, we can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever podcast player of choice that you have. Obviously there are ratings or reviews there. Please, if you can, give us a rating or review. 5 stars are always welcome and appreciated. And then always give us some sort of written feedback within that review. That way we know and we could actually talk about it on the podcast. But that's about it with our coverage so far with What If. And I just want to thank everybody for listening. I'm Mark.
And Steve out. I had to do it.
You had to do it. Same podcast, different panel, different pixel. And this was Panels to Pixels Podcast. We'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.